I absolutely love movies, and going to the theater to watch them has always been my preferred viewing method. It's my happy place. That's why this year, I tried to make it to the theater to see every new release that interested me. There were a few I missed along the way, but for the most part, I got to attend every film I wanted to see in theaters. In this video, I'll be recapping my theater experience for 2025. Every time I went to the movie theater, documented. So let's go. Starting off my year of movies strong, I traveled to the theater on January 1st to rewatch Nosferatu from visionary director Robert Eggers. This movie is technically amazing. From the cinematography to the sets and acting, Bill Skarsgård is amazing as Nosferatu. Every scene is like a painting. It's all brilliant. The story, however, left me with little more to be desired. I kind of wish Eggers gave his own spin on the story instead of making a one-for-one remake. Taking it for what it is though, it's a damn good remake. I gave it a 3.5 on both of my viewings, but could see it going up over time just because of how beautiful it is. Moving on way down the month to January 27th, where movie options are always limited, I watched the new Soderbergh film, Presence. This is kinda a basic ghost story, but the gimmick here is the camera is the ghost. While that does make for some interesting camera work, it just doesn't stick the landing as a full-length feature for me. Has some good messaging about grief though, which I feel a lot of people could relate to. 3 out of 5. And oh man, I didn't expect such a banger so early in the year, but we got it with Companion on January 31st. This was such a good time, but also had a lot to say about toxic relationships and a spice of domestic abuse. Sophie Thatcher does a great job tapping into her character, so it's always believable and her decisions aren't dumb. Overall, a fun time with some good laughs. 4 out of 5. Starting February, on the 6th, I went to see the SZA and Keke Palmer comedy, One of Them Days. This movie surprised me quite a bit. You never really know what to expect with comedies nowadays. I feel like the ones I enjoy are few and far between. But the writing in this one is just top-notch. A lot of laugh-out-loud moments with every character being memorable. I believe this is SZA's first movie, and she did a great job of coming off very natural. This movie actually did so well at the box office that a sequel was announced shortly after release. So I'm pretty hyped for that. 3.5. Next day, on the 7th, I watched Leigh Whannell's remake of Wolfman. This was a very obvious February release. Just push it out and hopefully it makes a few dollars is what they said. And makes sense why. This just felt so uninspired. A few cool scenes, but nothing to justify another remake of this property. 2 out of 5. February 12th, because of the glowing reviews on Letterboxd, I watched Hard Eyes. Man, I thought this was lame. I saw glowing reviews. I mean, it had like 3.2 on Letterboxd opening weekend, which is pretty good for Letterboxd standards. But this was just too goofy for me with its dumb twist. It made me wonder, had those liking it never seen a slasher before, so this is the bar for them? I gave it a 2, but looking back at it, I'd bump that down to a 1.5. Mason Gooding was the best part and the main reason I watched it. The next day, on the 12th, I went to see the newest installment in the MCU, Captain America: Brave New World. I'm far from the first person to admit that my hype for this series has died down significantly since the start of Phase 5. It's just been all over the place, isn't connected, and seems like they're making this shit up as they go along. What little hype I did have for this movie though, was in the film's main antagonist, the leader. This is what he looks like in the comics, and this is him in the movie. Yeah, I hate this design, but my gripes with him don't stop there though. He's poorly written to me and doesn't come off as a mastermind he's supposed to be. One thing I did really enjoy with the movie was the way they hyped up the Red Hulk throughout the film. You can tell by watching it that was supposed to be a secret when they filmed it, leading to a big reveal when Ross finally loses it. It's a pretty effective build-up if you don't know what's happening. Marvel then ruined that mystery by pasting the Red Hulk all over the marketing for this movie. Just another bland Marvel movie, and doesn't push the story along all that much. I gave it a 2.5, but it's probably a 2 looking back on it. The 15th was an important movie for me, so much so that I requested off work to see it. A re-release of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I've grown up with Harry Potter, having seen all the movies and read all the books. It's an iconic series everyone knows about. Azkaban happens to be my favorite movie in the series, so seeing it in theaters was a must. Alfonso Cuarón's directing really shines in this movie, and he truly makes this entry his own. From the incredible one-shots that he's famous for to the brilliant tension-filled scene in the Shrieking Shack, it's just pure cinema all around. Obviously, a 5 out of 5. And the last movie of the month, on the 23rd, was The Monkey. I really did not like this movie. However, I think I was just giving it to the hype on this one and tried to convince myself that I liked it. Either that or I was smoking crack on this day because I gave it a 3 out of 5, when in reality, I can't remember a thing about it other than just being bored. Looking back, I'd give it a 1.5. With March beginning, that means Oscar season. So because it was nominated for Best Picture, on the 9th, I went to watch Anora, that they re-released because of the nomination. I don't have a lot to say about this one. It's good, but definitely overhyped as it feels pretty surface level. Mikey Madison gives a good performance, and that last 20 minutes is pretty fun. However, it's just not one I'd ever really want to rewatch again, as I feel like it's just a female uncut gems. 3.5. On the 18th, I just couldn't get it out of my mind, so I had to go back for round 2 of One of Them Days. Yeah, I just absolutely love this movie, even more so on a rewatch. The second time around, I bumped it up to a 4-star. It's just really funny. To end the month, on the 31st, I watched The Woman in the Yard. I was a little excited for this one because it's directed by Wam Colette Sarah, I don't know if I said that correctly or not, who directed the first Orphan film, which I love. So since he had some horror cred already under his belt, I thought he could maybe pull something out with this one. But it's really kind of a nothing movie. Also not even that scary, more of a family drama with horror elements that seems like it got a horror movie edit for the trailers. But also, let me just say, I'm now at the point where I can do without the horror monster being an analogy for trauma. I used to love it because everyone has trauma, so there's something very human about it, but it's just been done to death. Let's get back to just actual evil entities. 1.5. The very next day, on April 1st, I saw another mid-movie with A24's Death of a Unicorn. This one was pretty forgettable, has some messaging about corporate greed while also throwing in a few jokes as well, but none of them really land for me. I won't ever watch this again. 2.5. A few days later, on the 6th, I was a kid again and attended The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie. I don't have super deep ties to the Looney Tunes, but the fact that this was a 2D animated film is what made me go see it, since you don't see those get a theatrical release anymore. And you know what to expect with this. It's Looney Tunes, it's silly, it's goofy fun that any age can enjoy. And yeah, it was pretty enjoyable. 3.5. Exactly a week later, I had a double feature, first starting with Hell of a Summer, co-directed by Finn Wolfhard. This is a pretty basic slasher comedy that only got me in the seat because of Wolfhard's collaboration, as I enjoy him in Stranger Things and wanted to check out his other creative endeavors. Like I said though, this film is pretty basic, not really doing anything I hadn't seen before, thus most it has to offer is the comedy, which isn't all there for me. Maybe this would be funnier to a younger audience, but I just didn't find it all that funny. Like with what the grandma was saying when we walked out of the theater, it was okay, just fun to come to the movies. I have to agree, not offensively bad, but I wouldn't hate watching it again. 2.5. The second film of the day, I'll already spoil, made it onto my top 3 of the year, Alex Garland and Ray Mendoza's Warfare. This movie is tremendous, an absolute gut punch, and it blows all other war films I've seen out of the window. I just love its dedication to realism, and not only the action, but the sound editing as well. Oh gosh, will I be upset if this movie doesn't get nominated for Best Sound. Watching it in IMAX is breathtaking, as every shot, every move the soldiers make is deliberate and planned out. The gunfire, the shouting, the show of force, it all just hits so beautifully in a horrific way, showing the horrors of war up close and personal. I give it a 4 out of 5. Also, fun fact, I didn't realize until after I watched both movies that Tafora Woon-Atai, I think, who portrayed Ray Mendoza in Warfare, was also in Hell of a Summer as Mike. I didn't even recognize him as first, as he blends into his role seamlessly. The very next week, on the 20th, I watched Ryan Coogler's film Sinners. This movie was an absolute hit, and for a good reason too. Very well directed, and everyone in the cast is pulling their weight. Has a lot to say about race and what it means to have heritage and culture, topped with an amazing soundtrack of beautiful blues music at the time period. I'm glad this one blew up, as it's something special. I gave it a 3.5 the first go around, but we'll see this one come into play later on. On the 26th, I went and unintentionally watched a documentary with Cheech and Chong's last movie. Yeah, I went into this thinking it was a comedy, as the trailer doesn't really give you a lot to go off of. Still, I was there for it, as I love Cheech and Chong, so this look back at their history was a good time, and I even learned a little bit about the duo. Not a bad doc. 3.5. Starting the month of May, on the 1st, I went to see the next MCU film of the year with Thunderbolts. This is actually a lot better than I expected. Fun ensemble of characters and has a lot of heart to it too, with the main themes being that of trauma and depression. Something fresh that you don't really see with the MCUs, them tackling real world issues. For that aspect, I really appreciate it. It's well written for the most part and has an awesome post-credit scene that finally feels like these movies are being connected with one another again. As Jeremy Jahns would say, this is a good time, no alcohol required. 3.5. The next week, on the 9th, I watched Clown in a Cornfield. You pretty much know what you're going to get going into this one, but even so, it was still so bad to me. I went in hoping for off-the-walls killing with this crazy clown slasher, but I just remember being bored. Literally, that's the only thing I remember from this movie. I couldn't tell you a single thing that happened in it. I gave it a 2 out of 5, but looking back, it's either a 1.5 or a 1. I just have nothing to say about this movie. On the 15th is when we got a true summer blockbuster with Final Destination Bloodlines. This was an absolute banger to bring the series back to. Awesome kills, and this time actual human characters that you can feel for and aren't just waiting for them to die. This movie has a big focus on family, and it hits the nail on the head perfectly. I also have to mention that this is Tony Todd's final film performance before his tragic passing. A true legend who will be missed, and I love that he got his own speech emphasizing the importance of living life to the fullest. Something sweet you don't expect to get from these movies. 3.5. And then 3 days later, on the 18th, I actually went back to rewatch the very same movie. My reasoning for a rewatch being that I had some family drama going on during the first viewing that kept pulling me out of the movie. So I wanted to see it again and see if it was any better without my phone going off every few minutes. The score remained the same, but I had a great time with this one once again. Then on the 22nd, I watched Tim Robinson's comedy, Friendship. I'll be honest right off the bat, I didn't get the hype for this movie. People praise it for being incredibly funny, but I genuinely only got a few chuckles out of it, and was left quizzical with what everyone loves about it. It's supposed to be awkward humor, which I'm a fan of, but like I said, not a lot stuck with me. Definitely one I need to rewatch. Okay, and finally 5 months into the year, we get our first true horror banger with Bring Her Back. Made by the Philippou brothers who did Talk to Me, this is them improving upon their craft, as I see this as such a step up from their first film. Very dark and mysterious. Not only is it one of my favorite horror movies of the year, but also just a favorite in general. 4 to 5. June 5th, I went to see Sean Byrne's new film, Dangerous Animals. You know Sean from films like The Loved Ones and The Devil's Candy. If you've seen those, you know just how gritty and disturbing they are. So I had some pretty high expectations for this one, as the premise is just balls to the wall. However, it felt kind of tame to me, with a kind of sluggish pace. Aside from a few cool shark scenes, this one was just kind of forgettable. Not bad, just forgettable. 2.5. June 9th, I went to see Kevin Smith's re-release of Dogma. This is an infamous movie amongst collectors. For the longest time, a Blu-ray copy of the film was out of print and very hard to find. To make a long story short, you have Harvey Weinstein to thank for that, as he withheld the rights to the film from Smith since its release. Looking past all that though, I was very excited to finally check this one out, as I love Kevin Smith's films. I don't know shit about the Bible or religion, so some jokes probably went over my head, but for the most part, this was really funny. A lot of great characters and returning faces, and I absolutely love seeing this in a theater with a packed crowd. It's so fun to be somewhere where everyone is expressing joy and laughing. That's the beauty of movies right there. 3.5. Then on June 11th, Cinemark was doing this summer thing where they showed kids movies for $1, so I attended Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Right off the bat, wow, this is beautiful. Such precise and spot-on animation. 5 out of 5 on that front. Up there with Spider-Verse. On top of that, this is a well-written children's movie, and especially funny if you like the cat mannerisms of Puss. Great for cat lovers like me. A very fun time. 3.5 out of 5. 2 days later, on the 13th, I watched the newest entry in the John Wick series with Ballerina. I really enjoyed this one. Sucks it bombed at the box office, meaning the ballerina probably won't get her own movie again, but I sure hope she appears in other John Wick movies. They make her badass without being too OP and without shitting on John's legacy. She has elements working against her, so she always has to take a different approach to fighting, which is really refreshing. If you like the John Wick movies, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't like this one. I rated it a 3.5. Then, exactly 1 week later, on the 20th, I went back to my local Cinemark to see the highly anticipated 28 Years Later. This felt like such an epic tale, like a story that's passed down from generations. All the emotional beats hit, had me damn near crying at one point. It's got the gore and very inventive camera work when focusing on the infected. Also, it's visually beautiful with great shots of this overgrown world taken by the apocalypse. Sadly though, I have to say this was one of my worst movie-going experiences, since the group of people 3 seats down were just giggling at the movie the entire time. Really fucked with my immersion. I was just so goddamn annoyed by these people. It's just insane to me that people don't have the common decency to not talk during a movie. Just pisses me off. Amazing movie despite that though. 4 out of 5. And then on July 5th, I went back for my second viewing of 28 Years Later. I just wanted to be able to enjoy it again, but this time without those extremely annoying people ruining it for me. Same score, but an even better viewing experience this go around. July 17th was another highly anticipated movie from one of my favorite directors, Ari Aster, with Eddington. This is a COVID movie, so immediately it turned a lot of people off who didn't want to be reminded of that. But this sticks very true to reality in an over-the-top way that is truly a time capsule of that era. Not my favorite Astor film, but far from a bad one. 3.5. I gotta check this one out again eventually. 2 days later, on the 19th, I saw James Gunn's new version of Superman. I'm kinda in the middle on this one. It's the first movie in the new DCU, and it starts with the universe already kinda set up. Everyone knows about the metahumans and giant monsters are nothing to bat an eye at anymore. On one hand, that makes it easy to get the story going. On the other hand, I would have liked to see it from the beginning. Also, the James Gunn humor doesn't really work for me in this. Caught myself rolling my eyes at a lot of lines. It's not bad, but just maybe not for me. 2.5. 24th brought the superhero movie I was most anticipating for this year, Fantastic Four: First Steps. I could spend a lot of time on this movie. So many elements I enjoyed. The team feels comic accurate, everyone has personality, Galactus finally gets a proper on-screen depiction. There's just so much to love in here, and it truly feels like a love letter to the comics. My only complaint is the pacing is off. Some things felt rushed. There was definitely a lot more story here that was cut out. But either way, I can't wait to see the next appearance of the Fantastic Four in this series. 3.5. July 28th was a delightfully surprising horror film with Together. I went in completely blind on this one. All I knew was that it was a body horror, and I was in. This is a fantastic representation of codependent relationships, something I can relate to heavily with my past. Every anxiety and paranoia about being away from your partner, who you're too attached to, is portrayed excellently here. And the horror stuff is pretty good too. I saw people complaining it wasn't as good of a body horror as The Substance, and that just kind of annoys me because so much of this movie is character focused and the body horror is secondary element. I think that might have went over some people's heads, but this is a very rich story that I look forward to returning to one day. 4 out of 5. And to end July off, on the 30th, I watched Oh Hi. This is a decent rom-com with some questionable elements. Basically, this quote-unquote couple goes on a weekend getaway. The guy gets tied to the bed and then mistakenly tells the girl that they're not together, and she leaves him chained there until he changes his mind. Like I said, this was funny, but just the subject matter kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like, if the roles were reversed and this was a girl tied up, then this would be a very different movie. Good for what it was, though. 3 out of 5. Starting August off with laughs, on the 3rd, I watched The New Naked Gun. Oh my gosh, this was such a fun time. A lot of hilarious lines and goofy slapstick. Give us more comedies like this, dear God, because my theater was cracking up. This is one you can put on anytime and enjoy it. I've seen the originals, and I'd say it's tied with the original for my first place. I rated it a 3, but looking back, I bump it up to a 3.5. Just talking about it now makes me want to rewatch it. And then on the 7th, we got one of the most hyped horror movies of the year, with Zach Cregger's Weapons. This was an absolute juggernaut when it came out. Everywhere I looked, I saw those kids doing the creepy run. The movie was pretty inescapable, and I'm happy to say it sticks the landing on being a memorable horror movie. Fun reveals, a hilariously awesome ending, and some well-placed dark comedy make this one fun to revisit. Seriously, that ending was worth the price of admission alone. 3.5. On the 10th, I was strapped in for the thrill ride that is F1. Going into this, I know nothing about F1, nor do I care, but this was a thrilling ride that made me see the appeal, had me zooming through traffic on the way home, since those racing scenes are perfectly well done. And the sound of the cars too, this was amazing in IMAX, right behind Warfare in terms of theater experiences. I felt like I was flying with this one. 3.5, it's a good time. August 15th came the big guy we all know and love with Shin Godzilla. This got re-released in 4K, and I had never seen it before, but I heard many great things. Sadly, I was slightly let down by this one, as it has a lot of scenes of meetings on what to do with the monster instead of actually showing Godzilla. Admittedly though, there are a few rampaging scenes throughout, and they are a combination of badass and horrifying. Godzilla comes off as the most monstrous he's been, and I really dig this new design he's got this time around. And oh my god, the atomic breath scene in this movie is phenomenal. 3 out of 5. It's good and has a lot of subtext, but I want more Godzilla. August 17th was the day before my wisdom teeth surgery, so I went to the movies to try and take my mind off the anxiety of it. I watched Jimmy and Stiggs. I don't even know what you'd call this type of movie, just one of those over-the-top, low-budget slaughterfests with blood and guts flying all over the place. Sounds like a recipe for a dope film, but it just gets old after a while. And when all the scenes are just non-stop gore, it all blends together and nothing comes out memorable. Gave it a 2.5. I didn't hate it, but another one I'd never watch again. I didn't watch a movie for quite a few days after surgery because I just couldn't focus on anything due to the painful healing process. So starting on September 6th, I watched Darren Aronofsky's newest film, Caught Stealing. I've actually only seen one Aronofsky film before with Requiem for a Dream, so I guess I can't accurately say this is missing his style, having only seen one of his movies before, but there's no doubt this is missing the sauce. Just with that one movie, I know he brings a lot of charisma to his work, and it just wasn't here for this one. A fine film by all means, but just felt like it could have been directed by anyone. Nothing too special here, unfortunately. 3 out of 5. On September 11th, we got another that I was hyped for with The Long Walk. I'm a big Stephen King fan and just read the book this is based on earlier this year in anticipation for the movie. It's a very emotional and unforgettable book, one of my favorites from King, and thankfully this one stays true to the source material and is just as much of a gut punch as the book is. One of my only complaints being the main actor Cooper Hoffman. I didn't feel did a very good job with his portrayal. I just didn't buy that he was this hardened dude by the end of the walk. He didn't really convey that to me at all. However, one of the other actors in this movie, David Johnson, was very believable and absolutely stole the show for me. I think this whole movie has his performance to thank. It's King, it's gory, and it's good. 3.5 out of 5. September 14th, for its 30th anniversary, I rewatched the childhood classic, Toy Story. Not much to say with this one, everyone's seen it. Just a truly fun time with a very creative and imaginative story. 4.5. On September 24th, despite the bad reviews, I went and checked out Him. I was actually super hyped for this movie when they released the first teaser. I don't know why, I just thought it would be something special. Then once the first trailer came out, I just knew it would be a pile of dookie. But still, I went to see it so I could form my own opinion on it. Also, it has Marlon Wayans in it, and I love him. I actually thought this had a pretty good start, but it pretty quickly loses itself in its own ideas. Kinda just throws everything at the wall in hopes that something sticks. In the end, it ends up being a jumbled mess. 1.5 stars. Then, on September 27th, I watched the sci-fi classic from the 70s with Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Other than Minority Report like 10 years ago when I was 14, this is my first Steven Spielberg film. I'd say he definitely lives up to his name in this film. Not perfect, but it's so grand in scale and just feels so epic that I couldn't help but love it. And that John Williams score is just so amazing and enhances what you're seeing to an excellent degree. The story is a little lacking to me in parts, but if you ever get a chance to see this one in theaters, you should definitely go because your eyes and ears will be very pleased. 3.5. And now we enter October. For those of you that know me, you know that every year I compete in the 31 Days of Halloween challenge. So I was hyped when one of my entries would be from a theater viewing. And I had quite a lot of theater outings this month, even with non-horror movies. On the 3rd, I got my friend who hates going to the movies to see Good Boy. I appreciate this movie being such a draw to somebody who doesn't go to the theaters. It was the perfect reel-in for all dog lovers. It's a film from the dog's perspective, and since dogs can sense so much more than we can, it's presumed they can sense death as well, and that's what we follow in this movie. Indy's human is suffering from lung cancer, and his condition worsens, so does the supernatural hauntings. It's a well-crafted movie with more tears than fears, so it's pretty sad. Indy is an amazing first-time dog actor though, so his existence is really cool. 3.5. The next day, on the 4th, we got our first non-horror movie of the month with the freaking classic Spider-Man 2. This is one of my favorite movies from childhood and one of the best superhero films, period. So I had to finally see it in theaters. Obviously, it's always amazing. Not much to say other than the theater experience was awesome. The fights felt so much more impactful and the punches had much more weight to them. Obviously, it's a 5 out of 5. Back to horror on the 10th, I watched the October re-release of 2017's It. I don't think this movie is perfect like I used to, but it's still a lot of fun and a great October movie. Some fun scares with a moving coming-of-age story holding it together. Gotta love that. I gave it a 3.5. Also, I feel it's important to mention this, that it's currently December 23rd as I'm recording this. And very tragically, 2 days ago, James Ransone, who played Eddie in the grown-up version of Eddie in It Chapter 2, has passed away from suicide. I saw this after I got off work on the 21st at night, and it was just so sad, so shocking to see. I've seen James Ransone in quite a few movies, and I really liked him. And I'm learning more about his story as it unfolds, and apparently he was a victim of a lot of childhood abuse and heroin addiction, so that's really, really tragic, really sad to hear. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that, say rest in peace to him, because he seemed like a really nice guy and a great actor, so yeah. Then on the 15th, I had to go check out Benny Safdie's new movie with The Smashing Machine. The Safdie brothers have given two of my favorite movies of all time with Good Time and Uncut Gems. So anytime one of the brothers ventures off to do something on their own, I have to check it out. Sadly, it looks like their greatness comes from the team effort of the two because I didn't love this. It's not bad, but just nothing memorable. I've also read online that apparently this is almost a one-for-one remake of a documentary, and people prefer the doc to this. Like I said, it's not bad, just very forgettable. 3 out of 5. The 19th brought a horror sequel I was pretty excited for, but was let down big time with The Black Phone 2. I thought this was so lame, very boring, and the iconic grabber isn't even in it that much. I don't know what people see in this movie, as it's pretty well regarded by the general audience. 1.5. I don't have much to say about this one other than it has a nice cozy setting, but that's about it. A few days later, on the 22nd, I went to see Roofman. Damn, I didn't expect to like this one as much as I did. Honestly loved it. It's not going to be for everyone, as it can probably come off like they're making the protagonist too much of a good guy, but it just made me feel all warm and fuzzy inside with the way these characters interact and just want to do good by each other. Just made me leave the theater wanting to be a better person, which is always a nice message to have. 4.5. I loved it. And then, to end off spooky season, I went back on the 31st with a friend to rewatch Sinners. See, I told you guys it was coming back. Like I said before, I had a great time with this one, so I was hoping they'd re-release it for October, and thankfully they did. Even better the second go around. Up the score to a 4 out of 5. Starting November off right, on the 2nd, some friends and I went to see the Netflix movie K-Pop Demon Hunters. I really wasn't expecting this to be my thing at all. I'm not a fan of K-pop, and I thought it was just a girly movie, but this is incredible, and anyone having doubts should definitely check it out. Seriously, anytime this movie is back in theaters, I will make the time to go see it. A fun story that's carried by its character work just as much as it is the songs, and oh my god, the songs. I've listened to the soundtrack so many times. They're all bangers. Very emotional with a lot of heart and beautiful animation. It was like a concert in theaters. So much fun. I originally gave it a 4 out of 5, but honestly, it's a 4.5 now. On the 7th, I went to see the new Yorgos Lanthimos film, Begonia. I didn't know what to expect with this one. Yorgos' films are always unique, so you never really know what to expect, but this was fun and psychological, as well as being thought-provoking. Has a lot to say not just in the conspiratorial aspects, but about humans in general. Excellently cast, and Jesse Plemons, of course, steals the show. The ending was pretty unexpected and had me thinking on it for a few days. 4 out of 5. 1 week later, on the 14th, some friends and I went to see Predator Badlands. I'll come right out and say, I think I had this movie overhyped. I had this idea of what the movie would be, and honestly, it probably never could have lived up to my expectations. I had just heard so much hype around this one with how violent it was, and yes, it was very violent, and that was cool. I just felt like the pacing was a bit off. It felt a bit too long, but at the same time, I had just gotten off work, and it was a late showing, so that could have affected my viewing experience as well. I thought it was just okay with the 3-star rating. My friend absolutely loved it though, and she said it was captivating, so I'm glad she liked it. Ending the month on a low point, on the 30th, I saw Edgar Wright's adaptation of Stephen King's The Running Man. I was very excited for this one month leading up to its release, since I read the book earlier this year and really loved it. Not only it being a good book, but the fact that Edgar Wright was directing had me hyped. However, this falls so short for me. For one, it's not that great of an adaptation, specifically in the characters department. Nobody feels as smart as their book counterpart, and that's disappointing. And two, it's not even a fun, well-directed movie. Doesn't have any of the Edgar Wright sauce like with Shaun of the Dead and Baby Driver. Felt like it could have been directed by anyone. I was wanting to walk out of this one early, but I had to stay just to say I finished it. 1.5. And oh my god, December 7th was something truly special with the release of Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill: The Whole Bloody Affair. For those that don't know, when Tarantino originally made Kill Bill, it was one movie, but the studio said it was too long and made the director cut it into 2 films. This release puts those 2 films back together, makes it unrated, and has an additional animated sequence. I love this movie, so it was awesome to finally see this version. Much more violent than the regular cut. My only complaint would be that the added in animated sequence just didn't do it for me and felt a little unnecessary. I love Kill Bill though, and that animated sequence isn't enough to make me not love this release. Truly such an experience. 4.5 out of 5. And thank God for these re-releases, because on the 13th I saw The Shining in IMAX. I'd seen this one a long time ago when I was around 11 or 12, thanks to my boy Andrew for sending me the DVD. I definitely didn't understand just how good of a movie it was back then. Seeing it in IMAX was like watching it for the very first time. I felt fear in a way that I've never felt while in the movie theater. It truly hit exactly how Kubrick intended. Definitely one of my favorite horror films now. 5 out of fucking 5. December 22nd was my birthday, and my mom decided to take my 2-year-old nephew and I to the theater to see the SpongeBob movie, Search for SquarePants. I really didn't have much interest in seeing this one, but there wasn't really anything else in theaters that I wanted to see, and also I wanted to see how my nephew would react to the theater experience. Sadly, he did not appreciate it, as he spent the entire runtime glued to his iPad playing games. Yeah, he's one of those kids. As for the movie though, I really didn't care for it. The plot nor the jokes really hooked me at all. The animation was nice, but isn't enough to save the movie. They just don't make SpongeBob movies like they used to. 2 out of 5. And holy shit, they truly saved the best for the last with releasing this one so late in the year. On December 27th, I saw Marty Supreme. We got Benny's solo movie earlier in the year with The Smashing Machine. Now comes Josh's turn, and he fucking demolished it. Being marketed as a ping pong movie, I didn't know what to expect with this, but if you like good time and uncut gems, then you'll love this. So chaotic and fast-paced, the 2.5 hours really just flew by. Timothée Chalamet gives an incredible performance, and a lot of fun side characters. It's got everything a great movie needs. Don't know what all I can even say about this one, just that you have to check it out. 4.5 out of 5. And alright guys, that was my year at the movie theater. In total, I visited the movie theater 60 times and I saw 56 individual films. This has definitely been my most successful year of movie watching, and I hope to continue the trend for 2026. And it looks like us movie lovers are going to be well taken care of next year, as a lot of big name movies are coming out. So you guys know where you'll be able to find me next year. And yeah guys, I hope you all had a great year and got to watch a lot of movies. This video took me over a month to make, so I really hope you enjoyed it, and be on the lookout as I plan to make a few more videos as we roll out the new year. So once again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.